I'd like to call to order a public hearing. It's a recessed public hearing from March 6, 2014. Will be convened here at 7:02. The purpose of this public hearing is for citizens' comments on. Want to read that?
Bill number 2014-01 and ordinance number 823, an ordinance to repeal, revise, and remove all reference to annexation of Givens Cut Road from Bill 2013-01 ordinance number 796 and to annex only Overby Road per the original Bill 2013-01 ordinance number 796 and its existing county road right-of-way into the city of Fairview, Tennessee. All the proposed roadway for annexation lies within the city of Fairview, Tennessee's growth boundary.
Is anyone here to speak on this matter this evening?
Patrick Newsom. I represent Kathy Beata and the Beata family. They're the owners of the 208 acres to be annexed. They're citizens of Fairview, and on behalf of them, we want to say we're in favor of the bill for a number of reasons. To remove Givens Cut Road from, I guess, the original bill 2013-01 ordinance 796. As you all are aware, the property is currently in litigation, Givens et al. Versus the city of Fairview. And I'm not here to talk about the merits or the motivation behind the litigation. I'm here basically to talk about the facts and the high probabilities. Right now, the city's spent time, resources, and energy in achieving summary judgment in circuit court. Another fact is the plaintiffs have a right to appeal. Their time has not run out to appeal at this point. If this is appealed, it could take anywhere from 18 to 24 to all the way up the chain to 36 months. And as of right now, there's a cloud of litigation surrounding the property. And I think a cloud's a pretty appropriate analogy because regular storm clouds produce rain and thunder and lightning that can delay development. And a litigation cloud produces uncertainty, which can also equally delay development. And among many things that successful developers need are lending partners and investment partners. And I guess a function of this uncertainty as a former banker, real estate banker specifically, when a property is clouded by litigation, it's hard to get lending on it. And as an attorney, I couldn't advise an investment client to lend money on a property whose development success is going to be determined by the outcome of the litigation at this point. So right now, this cloud of uncertainty is causing a ton of delay. If this ordinance is passed, I think it will inhibit the plaintiffs from successfully appealing, or may pare down their grounds for appeal a little bit. The city's already spent time and money and resources fighting the challenge of the annexation. They've successfully done it to this point. I really think as Kathy Beata, the owner of the property, if this ordinance would pass, you'd be helping out one of your fellow citizens. And that's why primarily I think it should pass. And there's also still ingress and egress out of the development, the proposed development. So with that, I just wanted to express that the Beatas are in favor of passing this ordinance.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else this evening to speak on this matter? Motion for adjournment?
Move to adjourn.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Good evening. I'd like to call to order the Board of Commissioners meeting, April 17, 2014, at 7:06. Those who would, please join us in the prayer and the pledge. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for this glorious day. Thank you for the season that we're celebrating in Holy Week, and we thank you for what it stands for in the resurrection of Christ. Lord, we thank you for the time that we're able to come together to do diligent the business of the city. We ask you to lead, guide, and direct us this evening. Bless all families, all hands, and all hearts that are represented in our community as we work together. We ask all this in Jesus' name. Amen. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. You may be seated. Next item is the approval of the agenda.
Move to approve.
Will there be any additions or deletions this evening?
Mayor, I have one addition brought to us by council. It would be to add an item under new business, 9H, discuss and or take action on compromise and settlement agreement Givens Cut Road, and request that it be heard out of sequence and be heard after 8A in old business, second and final reading of the ordinance to remove Givens Cut Road from the annexation with Old Creek Road there.
For clarification, 8A
We are going to add it.
as H, but handle it after A.
Correct.
Thank
Yes,
you.
ma'am.
Any other additions or deletions this evening? We have a due motion and second. Any other discussion? We have a motion for approval? You did it. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. The citizens' comments this evening?
Mayor, there are no citizens' comments this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Cantrell. And this evening, we have a business spotlight, and we would like to have Mr. Hall explain and introduce our guest this evening.
Our guest this evening is Miss Jillian Walker of Walker's Books, and if she will, she come to the podium. She has the floor.
Welcome.
Hi, I'm Jillian Walker, and I'm with Walker's Books. I have just moved over behind BP and La Plaza, next to La Plaza. I'm on Old Nashville Road, and we have expanded to 2,000 square feet, so everybody needs to come and check it out.
Tell what your service is.
I'm a used bookstore. I buy, sell, and trade books. I give store credit and cash for books.
Okay, all kinds of books,
All kinds, rare, old, new.
children's
Just
books.
Children's books. I've got a huge children's section. I've got a huge fiction section. I got a little bit of everything.
How about the students for online and needing their reading and such? Do you service those as well for the
I do.
school?
I have an online service where I can order books for people if they need books. And I also have a new table for Wi-Fi. I'm going to have free Wi-Fi. I've got free coffee, hot chocolate, and tea. And I'm going to be selling some muffins.
Excellent. Any comments?
Correct me if I'm wrong, aren't y'all the second largest bookstore in Williamson County right now?
Yes, sir, I am.
It says to be commended for Fairview. Thank you very
Yes.
much.
Do you want to state your address and maybe your hours for the
Oh,
listeners?
Sorry. My new hours are from 10 to 7, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. And Wednesday, I close a little early because I go to church dinner, so we close about 4:35 on Wednesday.
Excellent. How about, you've got special events that you take attention to, such as book signings, author signings?
I do have
Special
book
events take
signings,
place?
and also I might start having bands out in the front in the summertime. Yes, and I do book signings and just different events and book. I'm trying to get a book club started in Fairview, or even a Bible study started. I can also hold that many people that I can do that as well.
Great. So anyone wanting to do a book club, Miss Julian would love to hear from you.
Yes, please.
Mayor, I've been there and it's very nice. It's big, it's open, there's room for reading. Like I said, there's room for your computer. If you want to use the computer, just sit back and relax and enjoy the books. And somebody there has got a pretty good collection of comic books. Used to say funny books, but now I think the right word is comic books. I don't want to give my age away, but they've got a great collection of those also.
Yes, we do.
Excellent. Well, congratulations, and we look forward to more growth and opportunities, and thank you for being part of our spotlight today.
Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you, Ms. Walker.
Hey, excellent. Thank you. Item number 5, awards and/or recognitions. Staff? Mr. Hall? Any awards or recognitions this evening from the board? Item 6 is public announcements. Mr.
I
Hall?
want to remind everyone of the emissions testing on Monday and Tuesday from 7:30 till noon. I'd like to let everyone know that Frank Humber will be on duty here Monday morning. And tomorrow we will be closed, recognition of Good Friday. Thank you.
And then the Jubilee, Saturday, is that
May 3rd?
May 3rd? Okay.
May 3rd at Bowie Park. Joanne's classroom is the Bowie Jubilee. And looking for any others. Any others from the board this evening? National Day of Prayer is May 1st. There will be some churches that are having prayer time. And also, of course, we do hope that everyone has a blessed Easter this weekend. Be safe and enjoy your time and family. Item number 7, we'll defer, is there any minutes?
Mayor, if I may,
Yes, ma'am.
I would like to address the proposed minute corrections from the meeting that was held on April 3rd, on the meetings from the February 20th Board of Commissioners meeting. I checked the tapes, and the minutes as published accurately reflect the statements that were made. The mayor proposed corrections, but I found the minutes to be accurate as published, and I just need direction from the board on the actions I should take.
Well, I believe hollering was ing, not er, so I believe that was a
No,
different one.
ma'am, that's how you spoke it. I typed it, you may have spoken it in the vernacular, and with all due respect, but that's how it
Maybe
was
with my
said.
accent.
And that is how I typed it.
Okay.
I think if you verified the tapes, my motion is if you verified the tapes, that the record should be left as it is.
Second.
Any other discussion? That's not a discuss or action item, so at that point, we don't have those approval of those minutes at this point, so I'm not real sure if we can move forward for a vote.
That's fine, we can place it.
If
on
we
the-
have the minutes presented, then we can have that discussed. So that would be to be approved as written, and then we'll do that under the approval of the minutes.
Well, she-
Not real sure.
I guess what we probably need to do is just, if Ms. Johnson would just put it on the 5-1 agenda and just present the minutes as if we were to approve the minutes. and
To be
then we-
approved under a vote. That sounds good.
That's what I believe we should do, Mayor.
No other minutes are presented this evening? Item number 8, old business. Second and final reading of Bill 2014-01, ordinance number 823. We have it.
Ordinance to repeal, revise, and remove all reference to annexation of Gibbons Cut Road from Bill 2013-01, Ordinance 796, and to annex only Overby Road per the original Bill 2013-01, Ordinance 796, and existing county road right-of-way into the city of Fairview, Tennessee. All the proposed roadway for annexation lies within the city of Fairview, Tennessee's growth boundary. Move for approval.
Second.
First and second, discussion?
Mayor?
Yes, sir.
If this is up for discussion, I have a few statements from a legal aspect on this that I'd like to present for the board for their consideration and clarification, if I may.
Yes, sir. Please proceed.
Just as a historical thing, the original ordinances for the annexation of Overby Road, Gibbons Cut Road, and the Beata property was passed on second and final reading February 21st, 2013. I have been advised by the attorneys representing Ms. Gibbons that they plan to appeal the granting of the summary judgment by the court relative to the annexation of Gibbons Cut Road. I have also been advised by Ms. Gibbons' attorneys that if the Board of Commissioners will remove Gibbons Cut Road from the annexation, she will not appeal the decision of the court and allow the annexation of the remaining portions of the annexation to continue. And I was advised late yesterday afternoon that if this is done, she will pay the bill of court costs to the Williamson County Circuit Court Clerk, so the city would not have any additional expenditure on this agreement. Whether this board chooses to remove Gibbons Cut Road from the annexation is a legislative decision and is solely the action of the board. It's your discretion, and it would not be appropriate for me to comment regarding that decision or make a recommendation regarding that decision, and I will refrain from doing so. I would, however, like to offer some statements and facts regarding the legal aspects of of removing this road from the annexation. First, the removal of Givens Cut Road from the annexation would in no way affect the legality of the remaining annexation of the property. What's required under the statute is that you must have a continuous path from an existing city limit, which is Highway 100, down to the proposed property that the Beatas voluntarily petitioned the city to annex. That would be provided by Overby Road, which is continuous from Highway 100 to the proposed annexed property, which makes it then contiguous to the city limits. When this process was begun some 17 months ago, the inclusion of Givens Cut Road in the annexation was to offer some flexibility to the city in getting traffic out of the area. It in no way affects the legality of the annexation. It would have provided the city with control of the roads leading from the annexed development to Highway 100 and make it a more simple issue to deal with, not having to deal with the county on that portion of the road, which is now Givens Cut Road. Dealing with the co-warranto action, this action has been placed, the annexation has been placed on hold since March 20th, 2013, the date of the filing of the original complaint, challenging the annexation some 13 months. If the appeal is perfected, the annexation will continue to be in a hold position by statute until a final decision is rendered by the Court of Appeals and a mandate is issued forwarding the action back to the Circuit Court of Williamson County. How long will this take? I don't disagree with what Mr. Newsom had said earlier. Typically in those type of actions, there are some time limits that are built into those things by the rules of appellate procedure, that you have X number of days from the time that the appeal is forwarded to the court to file their original brief, and then the city would have X number of days, 30, to answer that brief, and then you have 15 days if somebody wants to have a reply to the original brief. Those are built in and can be, finitely detailed in where they are. But after that, it becomes a matter of getting scheduled with the Court of Appeals, which can take 3 to 6 months. Then you have the oral argument, and typically, I've never gotten a decision back, and I'm not being critical of the Court of Appeals. That's just the way that the system works, in less than 12 months. So you're looking at 18 to 20 months additional hold on the annexation, even if the city were successful. Would the city be successful? That would, in my opinion, it probably would be. I would much rather be in the position of telling the court, 3 judges of the Court of Appeals, that the trial judge was correct than be in the position of having to tell that 3-judge panel that their fellow judge was incorrect. I cannot guarantee you that. I can only guarantee you my best effort. Upon completion of the proceedings in the appellate court, either party can petition the Supreme Court to hear an appeal. You have an appeal as a matter of right from the trial court, which was the Circuit Court of Williamson County. Court of Appeals has no choice but to take the appeal. Once you get past the Court of Appeals, you've got to tell the Supreme Court why they should hear it. And they've got to agree with you and issue an acceptance of your appeal. I can also tell the board that the Supreme Court typically hears less than 2% of all of the actions that are appealed to them. How long will that take? If the Supreme Court decided to take it, another 12 to 14 months. So you're looking to, before you exhausted all the appeals, probably a minimum of 24 up to 36 months. How does this affect the city? The city cannot proceed to approve any designs for proposed annexation property because everything is placed on hold. The developer could decide to just withdraw his annexation request and develop the property as a county development. And if this happened, the city, if they ever did annex the property, would be stuck with houses, and I'm not speaking harshly of anybody, but they were developed according to county procedures and not necessarily according to city procedures. Then they would be what's called prior existing non-conforming uses. The county, as I understand it, and I'm not an expert in county sewer systems, but they obviously would have to be on a septic type system, which at some time could foster some sort of runoff that the city might have to deal with if it got into the city. Suffice it to say that, again, saying I'm not an expert in that field is being very truthful, but if it's developed as proposed as a part of the city, there would have to be a sewer collection treatment plant on site because the city would not issue a building permit until one was in place. So that's something that you as a legislative body needs to think about. Lastly, we had budget hearings tonight, and everybody has to think about expenses, and I want to just give you some facts. I ran through my bills today to the city dating back to January of 2013, when the month that I actually prepared the annexation ordinances, and the bills currently that the city has paid or will pay through April 17th of 2014 with a sum total of $5,172.81. I do not know what Ms. Gibbons has paid her attorneys. In all due respect, quite honestly, that's none of my business. I estimate the expense to the city, if we have to go to the Court of Appeals, to be somewhere in the neighborhood of $6,000. And if it should go to the Supreme Court, and if they accepted it, you're looking at another $4,000 to $6,000. These are the legal facts and that I think the board should be aware of in debating your decision as to what to do with this ordinance. The decision of where to remove Givens Cut Road from the annexation proceeding is totally yours. I just wanted you to be aware of these legal facts that surround this. Mr. Newsom has already stated the position on behalf of the Beatas, and I surrender the decision to the board. Thank you for allowing me to address the board.
What are the wishes of the board?
Move to approve the removal of the annexation of Given Cuts Road from the current plan.
Second. Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And with requests of respect, we have 9H to discuss next, which is discuss and or take action on the settlement agreement. Mr. Cantrell?
Thank you, Mayor. After I received the information yesterday, I did submit a draft to the board, to each member of the board, in an email of a proposed offer of settlement and compromise. I have not presented it yet to Ms. Gibbons' attorneys. What I would like to do, I did make a change today, other than some spelling errors or grammatical mistakes, and I apologize to the board for those, but I was in a hurry to get this to you so you could see it. I did add to this, to what you had, the part about the agreement for Ms. Gibbons to pay the Williamson County Circuit Court's bill. I would like the board, if you would please, to approve this, subject to being approved by Ms. Gibbons, and authorize the mayor to sign it on behalf of the city when we get it back, so that we can wrap this thing up by May the 1st. Now, the reason May the 1st date is important is several-fold. Number one, that's the next regular scheduled board meeting, and I'd need to have the approval of the board authorizing the mayor to sign this. And number two, the 8th of May is the last day that Ms. Gibbons' attorneys could file a notice of appeal. If this offer of settlement is accepted, I have no doubt that they would live up to their word and the city would live up to theirs. The only thing is, you have 15 days generally to remove a passing of an ordinance. You can bring that back. It's not final for a minimum of 15 days. And involving items of annexation, that is 30 days, and I think you probably have 30 days. But if for any reason, if the board would pass this and authorize the mayor to sign it if it's accepted by Ms. Gibbons' attorneys, and I will assure the board if there's any substantial changes, other than maybe if I find another misspelled word or something, I would have time to bring it back to the board and point out those changes to you and get you to approve those on May the 1st.
So
Thank you.
moved.
Second.
First and second, discussion. Would you want to amend that with the changes as he requested?
Yes. That'd be
Absolutely.
second.
And if he finds another one.
And if we get any changes that, like I said, were substantial, then we would bring it back to the board for approval on May the 1st. Otherwise, if they sign it, we'll get it back up here and get the mayor to sign it. We're going to have it signed in duplicate so that each one will have an original copy.
Mr. Cantrell, just to verify, 'cause we had an agreement once before and it was changed at the last moment. Us approving this tonight will not bound us to that agreement, is that correct? Unless she accepts it as is.
What agreement are you referring to, sir?
Well, we had an agreement once before and they carried it forward to challenge the annexation, if I remember right.
I haven't prepared any.
Irregardless, this right here will not bound us if she does
No,
not.
no, so this will only be binding if they accept it and the mayor
As
signs
is.
it as is.
Okay.
And if there's any changes that are substantial, like I said, if I failed to cross the T or something, but it doesn't change the agreement. Otherwise, it will not be binding until both parties have signed it. We're going to sign it in duplicate copies so that both parties will have an original.
Thank you,
At
sir.
that point, would you please restate the motion with the understanding of the addition of the Givens paying the Williamson County, how'd you word that?
Peace.
Circuit court costs.
What I
Cost?
changed in here was
Circuit court
that
cost?
she agreed to pay the court cost once the bill of cost is issued to her from Williamson County Circuit Court.
And then any
And all his
subsequent
corrections.
change, and if any subsequent change, it must come back before this board. So if you'll revise that motion, or I'll amend it.
Well, my motion in so moving is everything that he stated is in that motion.
Would you restate the motion, please?
Yes, ma'am. I'm asking the board to approve the offer of settlement and compromise, subject to it being accepted by Ms. Givens and executed and returned to me, and to authorize the mayor to sign it if it is accepted as is. If there's any changes made, then I would bring those changes back to the board for approval, and it would not be signed and would not be binding before that time.
Thank you. Motion and second, discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Moving back up to old business, 8B, second and final reading of Bill 2014-07.
Ordinance number 829 is an ordinance for the amendment to the City of Fairview, Tennessee budget for fiscal year 2013-2014 budget. Move for approval.
Second.
First and second, discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Item 8C, discuss and or take action on vacant board seats. City Manager Hall.
Mayor, we have none. I think the only board seat we have available right now is the beer board, and we have no applications for that.
Thank you. Item 8D, discuss and or take action on Williamson County trustee collection of Fairview City property taxes. City Manager Hall.
Thank you, Mayor. Y'all have before you the facts and figures that we've compiled. And basically, it's going to be y'all's call on whether we proceed with the county's request or whether we continue to keep the tax collection here at Fairview.
What are the wishes of the board, please?
I'd like to make a motion to defer this at this time. I've got some more investigation into it I would like.
Second.
We have a first and second discussion.
So, based on the figures we have, the county was going to charge us an extra $1.50 per parcel for what it's costing us now? And if that's the case, why would we even consider that in the future, if it was going to cost the city more money?
I'm still looking at it.
Okay, that's just a question.
along those lines, Mayor, if I could add
Other
something.
discussion? Yes, sir.
As I looked at this proposal, I had 4 concerns. Vice Mayor just covered one of them. The second one is something that's bothered me from the very start is them using the number of parcels. And that, for me, that's one person, one parcel. But for a lot of people, when you stroll through the tax rolls, they have a lot of parcels. And so I'm wondering why it's not calculated $4 per taxpayer versus $4 per parcel. And I don't envision that somebody that's got 20 parcels comes in 20 times. I envision they come in one time and they pay all 20 while they're there. So charging by parcel.
If they even come in the first place.
Well, I'm going to get to that one in a second. My understanding, so that bothered me a little bit. Secondly, the thing that bothered me is that I understand that somewhere around 70% are done by mail by mortgage companies anyway. So it's the mortgage company that could save money, I suppose. And then the last thing is, I, for the life of me, can't figure out how this helps our citizens that they can't go to their local city hall. And we threw it out there a couple of different ways about having them come out here and provide the service, and they weren't really interested in doing that. So for the 100 and some odd people that are identified here that use the break, I don't know whether these tax freeze and tax relief is the same folks or maybe it's different folks. But even if it's different folks, for those 182 people, they've still got to do the most inconvenient part of it, and that is drive to Franklin. The convenient part of paying their taxes is to come here. So I'm given those 4 items. I tend to side with Vice Mayor Johnson on this. I'm not sure why. I don't see the benefit to us. I think it's nice, and maybe at some point in the future we'd like to resurrect it when the place grows and everything gets bigger. But right now, I don't see that it's a benefit, bottom line, to our folks. And so I'm for thanking them, but saying maybe later, but not doing it now.
The possibility of having well, we're definitely going to have a new trustee, but whomever that ends up being, one of the people have said that they definitely want satellite offices throughout the county and would be glad to put one here in this building. So
That would make it a lot different.
Completely eliminate this entire thing.
Yeah, that would make it a lot different to me, would be to have have them come here and provide that. I was going to ask Commissioner Sutton during my comments, I saw on the news tonight that Davidson County has a roving booking truck. And boy, would that save us some money if Williamson County Jails had a roving booking truck to come out here rather than us having to send units to Fairview.
I think it saves them about 3 hours. Is
Yeah,
what-
3 hours
what the
per-
report said.
Yeah, so
The
it's kind of the
reason-
same thing. When they're willing to come to us, I think we got real ground to talk to. But right now, I can't see that it's good for us.
That was basically the reason for my motion, is to see what's going to come out of the current elections, to see who is, if they're willing to come out here. The same things is for the renewal of tags and license out here, to see what it's 3 weeks away, so we'll have a little bit more determining action at that time before making an adjustment or whatever. I prefer to do it the easiest way it is for the people. $1.50 per parcel or whatever it is not that much. If you own 20 parcels, I'm sure you can afford $1.50 per parcel. So that was the reason for my proposal, to put it off until we see what's going to happen in this next election as far as the trustee division goes and their proposals for that.
I agree with you that more than likely if you own 20 parcels of land, you can probably afford that. But the thing about that is that's the city's money, not the individual property owner's money. The city would have to pay the county an extra $1.50 per parcel. That's the taxpayers have to pay it for somebody else, which I think is ridiculous. It's not the private person's money, it's the taxpayer money.
Other discussion?
Well, the only thing I would comment is, I have actually had citizens email me saying when they saw the article in the paper asking, why doesn't Fairview offer this? And talking about going through the county, how much easier. But I sit on enough boards, and I realize that sometimes not everybody in our city can or is blessed where, you know, they can just drive to Franklin and, you know, I think it's an inconvenience to ask people to spend gas money. It's great if they were going to Franklin and but some people work in Nashville, some people work in Dixon. So, you know, I feel like right now there's just not enough information, and I don't know as a city that we're ready to go this route. We do give up the opportunity, we will get our money once a month versus right now it's sitting when the taxpayer pays, it's sitting in an account. So I kind of would like to understand more. I'm all for waiting. Maybe I do believe a satellite would be the solution that would really help our citizens. If it's not going, our job is to look at the majority of the citizens, and if we're not quite sure that this is going to benefit the majority of the citizens, then I would rather see us hold off, get the information, see what we could work out, and move forward that way.
Other discussion? All those in favor of deferment?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Item E is discuss and or take action on Fairview City projects. City Manager Hall.
Thank you, Mayor. There's a couple here that I think that we discussed in budget a while ago, that the Bowie Lake Road beautification project we can take out of the tree fund, which won't affect the budget in general. That we can have on the schedule probably within the next 10 days to proceed with that. The next thing is that I discussed earlier was the resurfacing grant for Cox Pike and for Cumberland Drive. I think that we do need to proceed with that. The forest thinning, the burn and the forest thinning is already just about complete. That one has already been approved, basically. The Evergreen Park, I think, can be put on hold for a while, but we're working with something else on that too that may help in the future that won't affect the budget. History Village has already been approved. We've had sidewalk poured this week, as well as the handicap parking pad, I think, is in the near future, right, Commissioner?
Yes, what they poured the sidewalk, and then now what they're going to do is they're going to reuse the forming that, as soon as the sidewalk hardens, they'll take that forming up and pour the two pads. And then as soon as those things are finished and the electricity gets in, they're waiting on Mr. Dowdy. They're going to dig the trench first of next week, and Mr. Dowdy will come out and run the electricity up underneath the concrete. They'll pour the pad, and then they'll finish up the gravel and do a little landscaping, and it'll basically be in Dr. Rice's court.
Sounds like it'd be ready for July the 3rd.
Yes. We're going to have our stuff done probably easily by Memorial Day.
Yep.
So he'll have a good month to.
And getting back to the resurfacing grant, as I stated earlier, it's a 75-25 grant. And it's, as soon as I get 100% approval from Will, which I checked a while ago, he hasn't called me back, but I think it's just a matter of Kim Thompson saying it's ready to go. So, and then that way we'll go into the construction phase.
Okay.
Thank you, ma'am.
Any questions or comments about the projects?
Mr. Olive, if we looked at, I almost weekly for sure, almost every other day, I think we had a meeting the other night and it was discussed, Dice Lampley. Have we looked at that project out there where it's partially repaved and partially not? And I get comments about how bad it is on a constant basis. Is that on the list for repaving?
Not at this time. We don't have any grant money coming for that. I do have a temporary plan that we may can work out this year. That being when the hot mix is up and running.
It's up and running. I've seen it running today.
I'd like to at least try patching that with hot mix rather than the cold mix. And we do have a roller, and roll it in and see if we can get by with that, with our budget restraints right now.
I had several
we don't-
comments about it being as bad as it is and the trees being so close to the road, and I'm sure you're aware of that. And
Yes.
I'm sure it's should be on your list soon.
Right, and I've had another one just this past week, Henry Drive, the city side of that. And there's actually one other, New Hope Road is in bad shape also. So, I wish they were in the resurfacing grant, but they're not, so.
Well, we can't look at them on the money we get from the state for the road, correct?
No, sir.
We can't look at those for the funds?
No, sir. Has to go for specific grants.
Okay.
But that's my solution for it, temporary. It's a temporary solution. But it's, as far as our budget's restraints right now, it's the only solution I can come up with to try to make those safe roads. And King Road is another one that's gotten worse through the winter. I don't know what how bad it would have gotten had we not paved down to the high school over the winter. I believe it would have gotten a lot worse. But, we do realize, and, all we can do is go along and do it the best we can at this point in time.
Thank you.
Any other comments? Thank you. Moving on to new business. 9A, discuss and or take action on recommendations from the Board of Commissioners workshop with the Middle Tennessee Electric Membership Corporation and the Land Trust of Tennessee. City Manager Hall.
Thank you, Mayor. I believe y'all have the land trust agreement. The only thing that's not on there is the type of grass seed that we would like showed under the power line. Keith has given me Mike Berkeley's recommendation, if I can find it, on the type of grass seed. And we can comply back with them with those particular courses. Well, y'all can be discussing while I hunt up the grass seed.
Do you have your polls?
Do we have the poles yet that were promised to the park?
Not yet.
Mr. Powers, have they contacted you on your complaint?
They contacted me and told me that they couldn't do anything about these subcontractors. If I want anything done, I need to talk to subcontractors.
Okay.
They did come out to my house,
But they told you they couldn't help
but
you?
they told me that they didn't do their own work, they sub everything.
Well, it's in here that they are going to supply the poles, so I'm quite certain they will. But, so it is in the document.
And the grass seed is Indian grass, 35%. Little blue stem grass is 50%, and red switch is 15%. That's the grasses. Then we have wildflowers, that's recommended by Mike Berkeley. Blazing star plant, purple cone flower, butterfly weed, New England assert.
Sounds pretty.
Larry, does everything look in accordance? Have you looked it over in the land trust decision?
You talking about
as
the
well?
easement and the land trust decision? Yeah, the easement, the land trust, I agree with their comments. There's nothing in the land trust agreement that prohibits this board from granting easements. I think it was handled correctly though in bringing them in because they have to approve those things or at least be aware of them. I looked at the easement. That is a typical type of easement for Middle Tennessee. Electric, it's a typical type easement for power companies in general. They normally want to keep those things cut pretty clearly. The failure to do that costs them a lot of money and causes a lot of outages, but I don't have any problem with the easement agreement.
Move for approval.
Second for discussion.
Discussion?
Larry, would that not, when they have a contractor complete their work, does that not put them in a position of vicarious liability?
Not unless it is something that's an ultra-hazardous activity. Now, if, what most people will do that has a contractor, before they get those, like if they go do some job and before they get paid, the people who did the contracting can generally get you back out there, because I say, okay, Mr. Commissioner Sutton, I'm paying you X number of dollars to do such and such. We got a complaint out there. Either I'm going to withhold part of it until that complaint is settled, or I'm going to withhold all of it until it's settled. But once they pay those people, it's pretty difficult unless if you're in an ultra hazardous activity, i.e. blasting, those type of things. Our state court of appeals stopped just short of saying that transmission of electricity on high wire lines, pole lines, is an ultra hazardous activity, but they didn't say that. But to answer your question, no, you don't have vicarious liability for your independent contractor unless it's an ultra hazardous activity. As long as you've got his money, you've got some influence with it. I will also say that if you've got there's a statute of limitations on contracts. So if you've got a problem and they didn't correct it, you probably need to consult your own legal counsel and get something working from that end.
Okay.
I do want to discuss, we had a comment about different types of poles there on the power line area moving across. Did we have any thoughts or discussion of whether that wanted to be a larger pole or a bigger support pole? They'll go underground there. Did any of that, would y'all like to comment on that? They sent us the email of the different types of poles. I believe that was forwarded. Any comments on that?
I know with the larger lines that they were discussing, they were talking about different size poles, possibly for the valleys and things that they were going to have to go through, but I don't have any questions about it. They explained it pretty well.
I remember I asked the gentleman that night if this was going to be a metal pole that was installed in the ground, or did it have the big concrete base with the bolts? And he said no, that it would just be the inserted in the ground type of pole. But obviously, if they're going to get underground cable down through the middle of that, it's going to have to be somewhat larger diameter. I would remind the board that we discussed with them the possibility of putting that line down, installing the line on vertical construction rather than 10-pin cross arms, because it does look a lot better. And the indication was from them that wouldn't be a problem. Poles may have to be a little bit taller, but not any bigger.
Is it stated, or do we need to make that as a request on our end?
I would make that in the request, because that's something that can slip by somebody real easy. And when they start ordering material, for example, typically if you're going to go all vertical, all you've got on the all vertical is just insulators bolted to the poles, rather than having the big 10-foot 6 and 4-pin cross arms. And it looks a lot better because you've got a 30-inch or 36-inch little deal there with the insulators, instead of having 10 feet spread out. And typically the poles would have to be somewhat, a little bit taller, somewhere between 4 and 5 feet taller, but that didn't seem to be a problem with them.
Okay.
But I would put that in my request.
Thank you. Other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Yay.
Item 9B, discuss and or take action on hiring a forest management company. City Manager Hall.
Thank you, Mayor. After talking back with Mitchell Forestry in Corinth, Mississippi, his price now is around $9,000, and the one in Burns, Tennessee, Mr. Boggs, is around $8,500. So y'all tell me whether you want me to take the low bid or the one that's familiar with us from the ecological study that we had several years ago. So I'm willing to go with either one. And I've also checked with Ms. Parrish, and she's perfectly all right with either one of those also. And this includes the forest management plan as well as the tree inventory.
As well as what?
Tree inventory.
Did they both give an equivalent time frame as to completion?
Mr. Boggs can go pretty quick. I understand Mr. Mitchell is kind of busy at this particular point in time. He didn't give me a time of completion, but he can go with it pretty quick.
The one that can get on it is the lesser or the more expensive?
Lesser.
Did you discuss anything about his involvement or knowledge of the thinning, or what's his background on the type of issues that we're addressing and need to address on our plan?
The thinning, he's aware of. Both of them are aware of that, and that was part of the discussion that I had with them. They could address that issue at the same time, too, in the forest management plan.
And in speaking with the Tennessee Forester, his name slips me,
Mr.
Pyan?
Pyatt. Yeah, Jeff Pyatt.
Pyatt,
Yes, sir.
did he make any recommendation of looking for certain qualifications or certifications or anything that we might need?
Not at this point, he hadn't to me, but I can follow up with that before I choose one of these, you know, if you want.
And you spoke about the land trust. They have a requirement on their request to the city of Fairview that it be an approved Tennessee Forester.
Yes, ma'am.
Do both of these have that degree or certification that they're requiring?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
And they signed off on both of these choices, correct? The land trust did?
Yeah. Not signed off, but she approved.
They've agreed to whichever one you choose, they're fine with.
Just to give any kind of feedback for public, if I may, the Tennessee Forester addressed that having a plan in action, he could not prepare the plan, but he would walk and be working with us, but he referred us to a forester, and this is where we're getting the bids to be able to have a complete forest management plan that's then submitted to the land trust and then utilized by the staff and the city as the plan of action for the wellness of Bowie Park.
Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to allow Mr. Hall the ability to choose either one based on his conversation with Mr. Pyatt,
Yes, sir.
and whichever one he thinks would be better suited for us.
Second.
Discussion? Any discussion?
No, I'm fine as long as, you know, Ms. Parrish has approved and, you know, I'm okay.
But there's not been an approval, there's been kind of a nod, and at this point, your motion would be contingent upon approval of the land trust?
No, I believe we have approval from the land trust on either candidate.
Either one, we have.
Either
our
or.
approval.
Their specifications was a licensed, approved Tennessee Forester, and that's why I asked that specific. Okay. Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Discuss and or take action on adding signage to promote the Fairview Business District. Vice Mayor Johnson?
Thank you, Mayor. If I could, I'm going to have Mr. Bill Taylor come up to the podium and tell us a little bit about this project. Everyone should have it in
Welcome.
their packet.
Mayor, Chamber,
Mr. Taylor, you were with the Chamber of Commerce.
right.
Just to make sure everybody knows
Treasurer
that.
of Chamber of Commerce, and we're behind this bill. It's a sign program to pull people into the center of the city. We're losing a lot of people on 840 passing us by, a lot on 96 passing us by. These signs would be placed on the east end before you get to Walmart, cashing in on their volume and letting them know Fairview's a little further down the road. The same thing on 96. Folks that travel that going to Franklin, we need to pull them back into the heart of the city. And I think this would benefit every small businessman or businesswoman, whichever, and that it benefit the city with tax revenue. The sheet you have before you, the color on that is incorrect. It should be a darker green, a hunter green, the same color as the street lights or traffic lights, those metal beams that come out to keep the consistency the same. And we do a lot also with the Old Town Antique Mall. We placed a sign down on 840, bring people back to us. Everybody said it wouldn't work, but I can tell you, it worked dramatically, much more than I expected. I think these will do the same thing. And as a chamber member, I feel it's our duty to assist all businesses in Fairview. And these signs are generic. All they mention is categories. They don't mention the name of any business. And I think it'd
Can
be
y'all get
really
this up?
successful.
I'm sorry, can we get this up for the citizens? Sorry to interrupt you. I was trying to motion, and that was more distractive than interrupting. I'm sorry. I just want everybody to see what you were referring
If you
to.
can see that.
Oh, we'll have it up on the.
We'll put
He's
it
gonna
up.
put it on the.
Okay.
Basically, what you're proposing is the Chamber of Commerce is willing to pay half.
Right.
If the city was willing to pay half, is that
Right.
correct?
Right, and these signs are constructed of aluminum. The posts are 3-inch, I don't know what you call it, channel or what, but it's a 4-sided post of aluminum. And then the panels themselves they're either metal or aluminum.
There was.
Get it there. There you go. That's it. And again, the colors would be,
To match the light poles,
right.
the traffic light poles.
Yeah, I mean, the color that they put on there wouldn't be acceptable to me, and probably not y'all either. And if approved, I'm sure that we can get it going very quickly. Everyone I've shown it to has agreed with what's on there with the exception of that bottom sign. Some think it ought to sell retail, but the more words or letters you put in the words, the less effective it's going to be. But those are 1-foot panels, 4 foot wide. And with just keeping it simple, it's going to be very easy for people to read. And again, it's to pull them on through Fairview as they're coming into Walmart, bring them off of 96 back into Fairview. And then I think we should place one on the other side of 96 when it goes into 100, let them know their business is down there.
That'd be on the next page if you want to flip that over. There you go.
Right. But the one on 96 would turn them back our way. The one on 100 would give them a feeling of what we have. And then coming from the west, we would place that sign before Walmart as they're slowing down. where the red light is, I think give them plenty of time to read it. I didn't suggest one on the right side of that east of 96, but it probably would be a good idea to do that. So we'd be talking 4 signs.
Not if, and I was going to ask that question, is the first one on 100 Highway, as you get onto 100 from 96, if that one was put east, you wouldn't have to make a 4th sign, and it would still accomplish your purpose. And then my other question was the proposed sign on 96, will it have an arrow that's not shown
Yeah,
here?
it'll have to have an arrow on it,
Okay.
showing the direction they need to come in. Other than that
And to-
one, I don't really think they need a directional arrow, so they'd be traveling that way.
Put your pin on that one,
I'm with the mayor. I think if
the
we.
top one, nope, go. That, down.
Yeah.
There.
You
If
move
that
that
one
one
goes
where-
east,
yes.
like Welcome to Fairview sign or thereafter, because you're trying to drag the businesses in and you don't want to offset the east businesses in that move. That's not your intent. So moving it down would be the benefit of what you're trying to accomplish and incorporate that east end business district.
I know for my business, we ask almost every customer if we don't recognize them, how they found it. And a lot of them are the signage that's down on 840 now.
Oh, I don't disagree. The concept of advertising and marketing is what I do, so I totally am
Right.
excited about. Just giving that east one
Yeah, I think.
service to the east community, because we have a business district on our east side, and to benefit that on that side is what we're trying to accomplish.
But what we
That'd be
get
my only
a
thought,
lot-
without going to a 4th sign.
Yeah, we get a lot of tourists, and almost to the person, they'll ask, where's a good restaurant to eat? We suggest whatever they're looking for. And then they ask, are there any other antique stores in the area? And we tell them. And we send them down to Berry Treasure. And,
Okay, with that point there, you would eliminate them by not having a sign on the east.
right,
So
I think we need
just in
it.
recommendation, taking that sign that he pointed at and putting it prior to the east commercial would be the only change, but I definitely feel like it's a benefit and everybody can benefit from that.
Yeah, you'd have to do that.
I agree with the mayor. If it's put further down on the east side, it would eliminate people coming in from the east and diverting over to 96.
Right.
Going west without seeing any signs.
Right.
So if we moved it down there a little bit further, you're still going to accomplish the same thing.
Kind of the Betty Boo's area maybe,
Yeah.
and that's what came to mind out of the mid-state,
Yeah,
where they top Whippoorwill Hill and then it's enticing to say this is all ahead
Right.
before they take 96 to the
Yeah.
interstate.
you just try to need to get them when they're slowing down to do something, whether it's turn or whatever. If they're going full speed, they might zip by them. But,
Would the arrow, you think, be on the very top for that 96 going, you're going to get some flack over that
I
too?
don't think you'd put an arrow on it, would you, or you would exclude those people to the left?
That's why I say you're going to get flack
well,
there too.
no, you
Yeah.
won't do that because the ones you're pulling off are gonna go to the east when they leave. So you're not, if they're on their way to Franklin and you pull them back, you'll get your business or the business of the center city, they're gonna be going to Franklin anyway. So they're gonna catch those other businesses that go.
The only way to
But I
settle
do
that would
think
be a
there
both
needs-
arrow.
Well, I think that is the answer. I think that there's antiques at both. You have an arrow going both ways. For gas,
Right.
it's both. For groceries, it's only to the right. For medical, it's only to the right.
Yeah.
For nature park, it's only to the right. You just put a small arrow on each one of those lines.
Well,
But
there's
when Mr.
restaurants-
Taylor explained it to me, and I thought the same thing the mayor thought, on that sign needed to be moved. Now, I don't think it needs to be moved down as far because Mr.
Which-
Taylor told me he's not looking to get them, he's trying to keep them from going 96.
Right.
So if they see a sign somewhere after the post office before 96 telling them to go straight,
Yeah.
maybe they're not gonna turn on 96.
That's what I'm saying, go down to Betty Boo's or,
Well, no, they may, if the sign's there, they may think they've passed it all already, and then they're just gonna go on 96. We're
Well,
trying to
I
catch
can
them
tell you-
between the last business and 96 there, I think, to keep them coming straight. The fourth sign may be needed.
Well, and I want to throw in, actually, you know, you spoke to me about this too, at one point in time, and I think it's an excellent idea, but I still would like to see something at 8:40, right when you get off with the arrows pointing, something that, you know, instead of going on in,
Well,
you
we
know.
have one there.
I know you have the
Yeah, and I
antique.
think other people should do that, which I can tell you, it pulls in a lot of customers.
That was my conception before when we were talking about any signs on the interstate and 840 directional signs where it says restaurants and it'll have BP, Shell, whatever restaurants or stuff that are there, which they help pay for. I think that'd be a big asset to people getting off, because as it is now, you get off the interstate at 40, you're looking at a liquor store, a tire store, and a motel.
I can't tell you, we've been here probably 6 years now, and the people that we know from the Memphis area, when they come through to go to Franklin, they think that Fairview is on past, when they come off 96, they believe that's Fairview going east.
Absolutely.
They don't even know it's back. where
Same
the
thing on 40.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely, on 96 and 840.
I think we have a great opportunity.
Well, and this is something that was, I guess we talked about at some other point as sign and promotional budget and stuff like that. I mean, believe it or not, everybody hold tight, but I would like to see the city just put this in the budget and not even take a chamber dollar, because the chamber actually could use it for other promotions, and this is the city's responsibility. I think we should pay for signs advertising, what the city has to offer. Now, not on the interstate, we can't go advertise every businesses, but as a city as a whole, if we want to pull people in, I really see it as a city responsibility. Now, go figure that one. But I do feel like that we could put that in our budget. It would be an easy item to, and you've done all the work, and it sounds like it's an affordable thing for us to do. And I would like to see it put in the budget. And we would love the chamber to, have input and help as far as, what would go on.
We definitely will do that. No doubt.
I would like to make a motion that the city purchases or puts it in the budget that we have at least, three, what do you have, Paige? 3 signs with
Well,
directional
I
signs.
think we were talking, we got 3 on there, but to get one farther east, it'll have to be a 4th sign.
He did mention 4 when
Okay.
Wayne and I went around with him.
Right.
Up to 4,
Yeah.
or,
I think the total cost of the city, as the plan is with Ford, would be $1,450, if I'm correct.
I think it'd be much more effective, and that covers everybody.
Is it lit? No, it's gonna be lit.
No,
They're not
it
gonna be
won't
lit.
okay. So let me
I think
make
the-
a,
I mean, it could be.
It would be,
Well, the locations where they're gonna be, it's gonna be lit, probably.
be reflective.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it'll be
They
fine.
would be legible.
Well, most of the businesses are closed at night anyway, so you're not gonna miss much there.
okay, I would like to make a motion that the city put in next year's budget 4 signs, directional signs, with the cost up to $3,000. And what else do I need to say? Is that it?
Second.
Okay.
And change the logo, the city
Yeah.
logo at the top of the sign.
Yeah, I'd like to see that was added
See
on,
it.
but I'd like to see it curve, just like our welcome signs are. Kind of match that with the rest of the sign. I think it would,
Well, and maybe we can go ahead and sit down maybe with some of the chamber members, and if any of the commissioners want to join, and kind of come up with an official design how we want to do the signs, but I think that would be.
Skip said he would work with us.
Okay, great. So y'all can do that and let us know and bring us back some kind of design, but I think that's exactly a city thing, and hopefully the chamber can use some dollars on other things
That
that
would
would
be
help
great.
promote.
Okay,
Second.
discussion?
Yes, Mayor. I'm just, I guess it's an open question, but do we have state right-of-way issues? Because this is a new sign, and remember what we went through with the welcome signs about having to be out of the state right-of-way, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Do we have, I mean, are we gonna have to make sure we have to, do that again and be out of the state and all of that stuff? Is that-
Locations to be determined.
Okay. I was just curious, because those others, I mean, when you put the breakaway and all that, they get pretty ugly, and that's a fairly attractive sign, I think, so. I don't want to build something that's complies with the state, but doesn't meet our needs.
What did you say the material of the post were?
It can be aluminum, and they're not gonna be thin. I've talked to him about that, where they'd be wind resistant. He doesn't think there'd be any issue because we're leaving spaces in it where the air can go through. So I think it's gonna be a fairly secure deal. And those sheets, where the actual name is gonna be, it's not just a one sheet, it's like a channel. I don't know if you know what I'm talking about, but anyway, it's like a channel. If you looked at the end of it, it would look like a rectangle. So it's not just one flimsy piece of metal put up there.
But it is metal, the signage is metal.
Yes, and the sign is all metal. The letters are, what do you call that stuff?
Vinyl,
Well, they're plastic anyway.
Molded.
a vinyl.
Vinyl.
No, it's
that's
just
the
a
word I'm
vinyl
looking
applied,
at.
just
And
like my rails.
they feel like that holds up better than anything you can do.
Well, and I think some of the details we'll work out and present back. I think the key thing is that we get that as a line item on the budget, and as a city, we get behind and try to put this and move forward. Because it has been discussed in lots of meetings. I know
Well,
the
the
mayor
first,
and I.
the first effort was the signs you see at the interstate,
Right.
business district, 4 miles, 6 miles, whatever. So that was the first blush of
Right.
this is needed. And those were recycled signs from the state that were just revamped in a sense for that. So that was the first blush, and I think that was what we were trying to achieve. And I believe this is just adding to that, and
It will.
I agree. I
Well,
think it's a
and
great idea.
I think the signs that are there, that was, I think they look good and they're helpful. I mean, I think it let people
They are.
know that there's more to us. And this will even do a better job of, letting them know where to go.
Right.
Okay?
Okay.
Other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you, sir. I appreciate your efforts.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. All right, item 9D, discuss and or take action on city judges' compensation. Commissioner Sutton?
Yes, if I could ask someone to get the attention of two other candidates that are outside out there, just to propose a question to them. I appreciate it. This is an item that we only get to discuss every 8 years, and once it's set, it's set. If any of us have gone by here on a Friday and seen the traffic that is, they just can't hold them anymore. I mean, it's phenomenal, the number of cases that has to go through this court on a given Friday. I've had discussions with 2 or 3 of them about increasing the dockets. What do they feel like? How do they feel about it? And I'd just like to propose a question to them. They can answer one at a time if they'd like. I know this is election time and nobody wants to talk about dollars and cents, but we need to look at the convenience to the citizens and the people that come here as far as dockets goes. Right now, you've got a docket. You can be here at whatever time, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock in the morning. You may be here till 2, 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And we want to make it as convenient as possible. We can, not only to the people that come here, but also to the employees that have to serve and be here all day long. for particular dockets, whether it be civil docket, traffic docket, whatever the case may be, because that requires different people to be here from the city. And this may be a terrible question to ask right now, but I'm trying to get it done as soon as we can. And we can probably bring it up after the election, but I'd like to see us add an additional docket. And if Chief Harris was here, present tonight, he probably will be in a few minutes. He's going to tell you that more than likely, we're going to have to add another docket in the future for the city. And it's ongoing. And it's going to be the responsibility of the city and the judges also. They're going to be required to do that. So I like to take a look, listen to the board, whatever recommendations they may have as far as a change in the salary of the city judge. Because it's a lot of responsibility, and it's not like it was whatever, 16 years ago, 18 years ago, whatever it was when it first started the docket, when there was very few people here and available to hear the citizens' reaction to the court. And I know what your answer is going to be when I ask you, but are you satisfied with the salary that's involved in it now? Because I know you're not doing it for the money. Any comments? Ms. Burke?
Mr. Sutton, municipal court, I think, is more of a community service. It's not a full-time job for myself or any of the candidates here. I really think we could use the money in better ways. Was for a library extension, apply it towards that. Apply it towards building a larger playground at Bowie Park for the children. Makes more sense. This is a community service. It's not a job.
Okay. Ms. Oxford? Did you hear the question? And like I said, I know it's election year, and I know pretty much what the answer is going to be, but my concern is it's not going to be just a community service in the future. It's going to grow to more than one day out of the 5 work days that you have. Eventually, that's what it's going to go to. And, my concern is to be able to give it the attention that it deserves as far as cost viability goes. And both of these are running for candidacy. I think Lee Dreyer was here. I'll go ahead and get this out of the way quick.
I think Mr. Dreyer left already.
Yeah, so Ms. Oxford and Mr. Burke are both running for this office. Go ahead.
Well, I'm not running for the money, for the position. But the way the docket is right now, they're usually done by noon, and it's 2 days a month. So part of the problem that you'll have was trying to extend another day. I'm not opposed to that, but anytime you do that, you're going to have a district attorney available to come. You're going to have a public defender available to come. Probation has to be available. So there would be a lot of other people that would have to be consulted about it. But I could definitely see with the city growing that there are going to be more cases.
So just as a question, I can end it all here in just a second since the other person is not here. Do both of you foresee being able to have a split docket for a morning and an evening, one for civil, one for traffic?
I think it would make a lot of sense because the times that I've been here, there are a lot of people sitting and waiting to be heard on traffic tickets. And I don't think they usually get heard until they show up at 8 o'clock because that's when it starts. And I think it's around 10:30 or so by the time they're getting to a lot of the traffic tickets. So it would make sense to me that would be separated out.
How would you?
It'd be more convenient for the citizens.
How would either one of you solve the problem with appointing public defenders to cases that want to go to court, go to trial? As far as, we have people that come in, they're going to say not guilty, I don't have an attorney, then you're going to sit down and you got to set an attorney for them, a public defender for them, or whatever the case may be, and then they have to come back again. How would you handle that?
Commissioner Sutton, let me interrupt for a second. I'm not sure this is a fair advantage that you actually heard the beginning of the questions. He basically wants to know your opinion on whether or not we should get a raise to the judge that you're running, and it's probably not a fair place to put y'all. So I don't know if you want to answer that or not, but I worry that with you running for a seat, and I mean, it's great you want their opinion, but I don't know if, I don't know, you're not the judge, no offense,
Well,
so.
I don't have to ask their opinion, but if they're gonna be, one of the three is gonna be the next new judge for here, I wanna know how they're gonna handle it, if it's gonna be a timely manner. If I said it's gonna take 5 days a week, you probably would say something different, or you should anyway. But, you know, the problem that we have now, we're growing, and I don't wanna stick somebody with a burden for another 8 years for something that I expect them to do and do well for the citizens of this community, and not be happy with what they're doing because it takes so much of their time. If we come in and say, hey, we need another docket, we need 2 more, and you will have to make that decision. The city won't make that decision, am I correct, Mr. Cantrell? Once the judge is appointed?
Well, the city would have to be amenable to the having another docket because they're using their building and this type of stuff. What you're basically looking at, though, is if you're looking at a compensation package, once that's set, if you decide, the statute doesn't say you can't add another docket. It says you can't change the compensation for that 8 years. You can't raise it, you can't lower it.
And there would be a reluctancy on somebody's part. It's not, like I said, I don't want to put you on the spot. I wish the other one was here so I could get a little comment too, because I'm really interested in doing something with the docket more than I am anything. That's going to result in your time frame as far as what you can dictate to it, because I know you've got private practices, and I know that dictates part of your time, and you know, half a day is one thing, 3 days is another one, 2 days is another one. So that's the only point that I was trying to make. And what changes do you foresee us having moving forward with this? Because I want it to be fair and equitable to you. It's a public service. Ours is a public service. At the same time, we have X number of meetings we're expected to go to. But, you know, if we say we want 2 more days of docket because we've grown so fast, which are the expectations, and we're talking about 8 years, not 2, 3, 4, 5 years, that needs to be looked at. But if y'all are happy with it, I'm happy with it. But I feel like to consider that as you're running, and I know you are, once again, I've said that, to look at that expectation of that. So, because I want it to be fair to all citizens, is what I want it to be fair to.
Well, Commissioner Sutton, I respect your opinion, and I understand the whole docket and adding, and that's something we definitely should bring the chief up and have discussions with him. But without all 3 candidates, and basically, I feel like in some ways, some of the questions put them into, you know,
No,
a debate.
I didn't ask them if they needed a raise.
And I don't think that's the place for this.
Well, I said, I don't think that, ask them if they need a raise, because I know what the answer would be, what mine would be, anybody else's, but as going to be the new judges, I want to know what their idea is as far as the docket goes, and then if we're going to discuss it, we can discuss it later on, I don't care. I'll drop it if that's your wishes. We can bring it up after the election and see what they want to do, but I don't want to work somebody 5 days a week because they're not going to be willing to do it. 4 days a week, 3 days a week.
I mean,
We're
that's
not
fair.
working them. They're signing up for the job. They know what it pays right now.
They know what it pays right now for what we're going to use it for right now, but what's it going to be in 6 years from now? I'm just saying, we haven't had a change in it in how many years?
We haven't had a change in this board in 14 years. 14 years ago, when I was first elected, I voted to reduce my own salary by $500 a month. You multiply that by $2,500 a month over 14 years is $420,000 that board then saved the city over the last 14 years. Nobody here is doing it for the money.
And you run for office every 4 years, not every 8 years.
That's not the point. You're not doing, this is a part-time job. It's a part-time judge, it's a part-time commissioner, it's a part-time mayor. That's just what it is.
That's your discussion. I'm thinking, we need to be fair and equitable about what we pay them.
We are. They wouldn't have signed up for it if they didn't think it was.
Okay.
Well, and it is the time, I mean, here's the thing. Probably the appropriate thing to do is not to involve the people that are running for the office. But I understand your point. I mean, I do. But the thing about it is, you know, we could easily
Thank you.
we could easily take the position and say, okay, in, you know, after they're elected, we could say the next election will implement a salary of X. And that might be a better situation. I don't know that we're, and the rest of the board can comment on it, but I really don't know. I'm kind of with the vice mayor. I mean, they know what they're signing up for. I'm not interested in giving them a raise without maybe some guidance from our police department and, everybody that would have some kind of knowledge of what's going on and what we're going to need, and some kind of projection of, okay, this is where we're at, and this is where we see we're going to be, and this is, the dockets that we project we're going to have. So I don't know that we're really ready for this. I understand your timing.
Mayor, with the conversation we've had, I'll withdraw the
Thank you. The item's been withdrawn. Moving on to 9F, discuss and take action on Finance Committee recommendation. Commissioner Bissell. Excuse me.
Do we
Did I miss
take out
Oh,
you, Mayor?
I did. I did. Item E, sorry. Discuss and take action on Park Board recommendation. The Park Board had discussion about the Bowie Park funds. Through that discussion, a recommendation was presented for the Park Board making recommendation to the Board of Commissioners for a financial analysis of the money spent from the Bowie funds and any legalities of the Bowie funds money according to the deed and restrictions to the city which upon it was transferred.
Was there a motion?
I make a motion for approval.
I'll second it for discussion.
Discussion?
I have, the park board doesn't have that authority. We did not give the park board that charge to, get into that area.
And their question there was just in respect of giving them understanding of the park fund money as they discuss future projects for presentation for the things that they have been charged with. That was discussed, and I addressed that point.
Well, I just disagree with you, Mayor. The statute by which they are organized clearly states that they are an advisory committee only and that they act upon what we give them a charge to do and to report back to us. And I have researched the minutes, and I found nowhere in the minutes where we authorize the park board to be involved with the fund at all, period. No analysis, no discussion of it, no anything. So at this particular point, I can't vote for the recommendation because I don't believe they have authority to do anything.
And I respect your comment. That was discussed, as I mentioned, and the 2 or 3 items that is under discussion that has been directed to the park board, the comments were if there be not money to work through the projects, then they have a pretty moot point conversation, and they were analyzing the funds that were allowed with City Manager Hyatt and Keith.
I could
Maybe
find,
he was there, but that was the point of matter of why the discussion was asked in respect that they were given a breakdown of the funds and then see exactly the legalities of how that money should be spent, and that was their request.
Yes, ma'am, and I understand that. And once again, I tell you, I could find where this board had not given that specific charge in the minutes, and the determination of the legality of what we spend has not been delegated to them. We've not asked them to do that. They have no authority to ask for that information. I therefore will not vote for it.
The discussion?
Yeah, Mayor, at some point in time, and I don't know if it was at this meeting or not, but there was an ordinance saying something about all the money had to be spent in the park. Were you a part of this discussion?
That was part of the park board.
Okay, but not, I mean, I wasn't at your last meeting, but there is an ordinance that states that. So what, I basically,
If I may, Commissioner Carroll, there is no ordinance that states that. The deed of the property from Dr. Bowie to the city lists 5 parcels. It lists the parcels that make up Bowie Park. It lists the parcel at Evergreen. It lists the History Village. And it lists some of the parcels right around here, City Hall, that sort of thing. The deed does not stipulate that any funds from the sale of property must be spent on Bowie Park. What the deed stipulates is that it must be spent on those gifts to us. Therefore, the money that was gotten, the $400,000, could be spent on any of those pieces of property, not just Bowie Park.
That's
Yeah,
correct.
and I believe that is correct, but what I'm talking is the Board of Commissioners passed an ordinance at some time prior to us that the money would go. It all happened with the Bowie Park some point. So we may need to research that, but that probably doesn't have a lot to do with this. And you said you researched it, but, you know.
You know, you can do that. I'm not for paying Larry to research something
I'm not
that
asking
doesn't
Larry.
exist. I mean, it just doesn't exist. So I've researched it. I think Larry's already looked into this numerous times because he's been around for quite a while.
Have you?
Mr. Hall was part of the board that actually did this, and we keep going back down this, and how that money is spent is the jurisdiction of this board, not the jurisdiction to be delegated to the Park Commission, not the jurisdiction, it's this board. And the recommendation has no basis, but, I mean, I'm gonna vote against it anyway, so, you know, to borrow a statement, you know, if y'all outvote me, you outvote me. But this is not the jurisdiction of that park committee, and that is clearly stated in the ordinance where they are established.
Have you researched that and gone back?
I have researched it in the past. I haven't researched it recently, but from memory, I know that the jurisdiction of that fund is exclusively left with this board. I know that for a fact. The expenditure of that money can only be for park purposes, and it even goes further and says that this board has the authority to sell any portion of any of those as long as the portion that they sell would not adversely affect the park. If you remember, some of them were on the board at the time when they sold, I think, 9 acres that went up here to make up the Bowie Commons. There was an extensive study done. If you check the minutes at that time, I think I told the board at that time, respectfully, neither I nor them had the expertise to determine whether that sale of that 9 acres would have an adverse effect on the park and its ecological and plant life, and et cetera, et cetera. And the city hired an expert in that field who came back with a report that said it wouldn't. And when the property was sold, that money had to go into that special fund. But the jurisdiction for determining what it will be spent on and how much is exclusively with this board.
Unless we did decide to do something different.
And you made a comment about the expenditures of the funds. Can you repeat that?
It would be expended for park purposes. Now, what would constitute a park purpose would again be the decision of this board. Obviously, I mean, I can think of all kinds of examples that would be, and I can think of all kinds of examples that wouldn't be, and you can too. But it has to be for park purposes. You couldn't go buy police cars with it. You could put a sign up that says this way to the park, those type of things.
Right.
The burn for the park, it preserves the park. That's perfectly legitimate. Doesn't have to be paid from park money, but it's perfectly legitimate to pay it from park money.
So it would be legitimate to pay for any expenses to service the park?
Well, we'd have to define
Groundskeeping, whatever the case may be.
What the service- yes, sir.
Specifically for the
Right.
park, okay.
Right.
That was the question. I think that was the question that was asked in the beginning, whether it had to be for a specific improvement or it could be for maintenance, and it can be for maintenance, am I correct?
Can be for
as long as
salaries.
the board approves it.
That's all I've got, thank you.
Other discussion?
I would like you to read the motion again.
The Park Board requests respectfully for the Board of Commissioner to provide a analysis for the finances that have been spent out of the Bowie Park Fund and any legalities of the Bowie funds according to the deed and restrictions to the city upon which it was transferred.
See, I don't have a problem with offering if we're, I understand that it's not, we haven't really assigned them the task to analyze the money and how it's being spent. But I don't have a problem with giving this board, you know, the information that would need to help make a good decision on, you know, what they're doing. So I don't know. I just wouldn't see the problem. And that's what you're stating. They just want a breakdown of how the money's been spent.
Correct.
Well, the question was legality. It was not.
An analysis of the finances that were spent from the Bowie Park Fund and a legal analysis and any legality of the Bowie funds according to the deed and restrictions to the city upon it was transferred.
And that's been clarified by the city attorney as far as legality goes, in my opinion.
And to broaden on that, Commissioner Carroll, you may not know this part, and this is how it was told to me, that one of the members was basically saying not only do they have to do it, they are going to seek legal counsel and instructed them to hire legal counsel to force us to do it. Now, that's the way it was told to me. I was not there. Anybody that was there would like to report any differently. I mean, I can give names of who said what, but.
Well, I mean, I wasn't at this last meeting. I am on the board, but I've never heard anything like that. But then to what, I missed the meeting, so.
You there, Mayor?
The minutes are to be posted, and the discussion was that the inquiry is not only from one of the members of the board, but the inquiry is as a citizen inquiring what the status is.
Did they request legal counsel at any time?
I don't recall the exact conversation or discussion. I do know that the gentleman was speaking as a citizen, and he noted that as he spoke.
So he did or did not say that about legal counsel?
Are the minutes
Never addressed
out
anything
yet?
where I felt like he was asking any legal counsel, because at that point, that wouldn't be our position.
Okay.
And if he spoke as a citizen, I can't control whether he did or he did not have intent of wanting to dig further, whether the information was provided freely or not.
Well, we've answered.
I would like to defer this motion to, until we all receive a copy of the minutes from the meeting. I mean, I just think I would like to know what the intent.
Amend the motion.
I would like to amend the motion, sorry. And just see the copy of the minutes of what transpired and what their intent is. And I apologize to those board members because I was not there. But I don't think it's to be vindictive. I just think they want to know where the money's been spent. And I think that's fair, and I don't have a problem with
But
it.
any citizen
We
can
have
get
a
that.
motion on the floor, amended motion on the floor. Would there be a second? I'll second. Oh, go ahead. Discussion?
I would like to make a second amendment that we deny the request.
Second.
Discussion?
And I will vote for that with the understanding that we've already clarified the legal aspects of it and open hearing here as far as what is required from the board to any citizen that is in the city as far as the access to any funds that are available and expendable through the park fund.
And-
Public information.
That's public information, yeah.
Well, and I understand that, y'all, but this is our own board. It's not people fighting against. These are the people that we have assigned to serve on this board and discuss things that we've given them.
From what I
and the
was told,
improvement.
a person that we put on the board threatened to sue the city. Now, that's what I was
I
told.
would not say that's accurate. That's not. And I was there.
Here's the issue for me, Patty. If that was in their jurisdiction, then I wouldn't have any problem responding to where has that money gone? Okay? Now, if they want to, as an individual citizen, come up here and file a request for where that money has gone, we can then provide them a response with the bill for the research and everything else that's involved with going back for however many years we've been managing that Bowie Park Fund.
So we have to pay it.
Excuse me, gallery, excuse
But
me.
in terms of the commission, which we formed, this is not within their jurisdiction. They don't have the decision to decide what they want to get into, to determine how the money should be spent, or even to make that decision until we authorize them to look into that. And let's just use the splash pad as an example. If we wanted to authorize them to develop the splash pad, then they could come in and say, what kind of budget situation are we in for the splash pad? But right now, they're just on a fishing expedition. And so they don't have the jurisdiction. I'm not sure what good could come from it.
In respect, you made a comment that a citizen could send you information or request. All of us received an email. Did anyone respond to the citizen that requested inquiries about this same subject?
I don't recall the email. at
I got
this
the
time.
email, and my assumption is we're going to discuss it tonight in open forum.
It's a separate subject.
It was.
I mean, I received it from the citizen when y'all did.
Like I say, just
So
just
when
for-
was that?
Just to add to that, any information as far as the budget and the spending that goes toward Bowie Park is openly available to any citizen that wants it. The legality, hopefully we do everything that's legal and above board, has been clarified by the city attorney, in my opinion.
Well, and I just don't understand, this is a board of us. I understand what you're saying, and I hear the words, we haven't, given them this task, but we have given them the task to review the park system and see potential, uses of the park. So I really don't, if it's an informational piece, I don't see a problem with just having the information to better make a decision. Now, not knowing exactly, why it was requested and not being at that meeting, which I apologize for, I will, it's just I don't see a big deal with giving them the information. If we would give it to a citizen that would come fill out the paperwork, why wouldn't we give it to our own committee?
Well, one of the questions that was in the email that the mayor referred to, if you correct me if I'm wrong, was the legality and the speech that was put into the question was the legality of it, according to Dr. Bowie, is what it could be spent for was strictly for improvements only to the park, not for any other purpose. Am I correct, Mayor? Or close to it?
Well, I just had the city attorney repeat twice that the expenditures of funds must go to park improvements, and he validated that.
He also invalidated for maintenance also. So it's the maintenance, and that's what we're all concerned with. We're not concerned with, that park has to be maintained. The money's got to come from somewhere. Where's it going to come from? It's going to come from the park fund. If there's not there to be available, we're going to approve it and take care of that park. But to say every dime's got to be for a new sign or a new post or whatever the case may be, that doesn't make sense to me. To explain the legality of what she wished for and what she appointed for, that's what we're getting down to. I'll just go ahead and say it. If someone posted the email, I don't even remember who posted. That's not my concern. I knew we were going to discuss it tonight. But the legality part of it is it can be used according to the documentation that she had for maintenance of the park and upkeep at the same time. And once again, I'll ask you is that correct or incorrect? And just be direct.
Well, I haven't looked at it recently, but my
Well,
memory
it
is...
hadn't changed since she died, I
No,
promise you.
But my memory is that it says for park purposes.
Period.
And if that's the case, then if it was a maintenance issue, that would be a park purpose.
And thank you for your explanation, and I agree with that 100%, and that's the way I interpret it also. I enjoyed the park this weekend, had grandchild's birthday over there this weekend, enjoyed it immensely. Want to see it be around forever, but the question of legality, I think, had just been answered as far as the use of funds. And to me, that's good enough for me.
Other discussion?
possibly the easiest thing for the future is if this fund had a zero balance. I know nobody here wants to hear that. They may take that the wrong way. The city is going to upkeep the park no matter what, whether the money comes out of the general fund or whether the money comes out of the park fund. If the park fund is all gone, if all the money is spent on the park and everybody can see that good went for it and it's gone, then the city will just put general fund money in it to keeping it operating all the time. Then there's no more of these discussions. It solves the problem.
Other discussion? We have a second amendment, amended motion for deny. If there be no other discussion, I'll ask all those in favor.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Nay. Let's see. Now, Mr. Bissell, discuss and take action on Finance Committee recommendations. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. I don't have any recommendations. I just wanted to report out that we did have our first meeting. As I alluded to in the workshop, I am pleased to have Ms. Brooks here. I guess she left, but, no, there you go. You moved. Ms. Brooks on the committee, she is going to add a lot to it and has done some legwork for us, some building of some spreadsheets and stuff that's going to make the mechanics much easier.
Can we ask her to stand up so she can be recognized? Oh, get up. There you go. Thank you.
And so it's a great pleasure to be working with her on it. We spent most of our meeting, in addition to getting to know each other a little bit in our backgrounds, we spent most of our meeting, the committee is myself, Tom, Wayne, and Ms. Brooks at this time. And we would be happy to entertain another citizen member if we ever get somebody that meets the qualifications. But we first looked at our current state, and I think Tom's going to talk a little bit about our current state. And we went through the allocations that were out there looking for ways to reduce the pending deficit that we have. So in addition to that, our homework assignment is we're taking the I developed a spreadsheet, and then Ms. Brooks expanded upon it. We're taking as the list of things that's being brought to us in the workshops, and we are looking at those for possible areas of consolidation and possible areas that through consolidation and through looking at what was being spent this year are the funding request in line with that, so that we can make some recommendations timely to the board about that. So those have been our major two efforts. Once we get through the budget process, we plan to meet every other month, but during the budget process, we are meeting monthly, and I believe our next meeting is the 8th. Is that right? The 8th? Will be May the 8th. So we are off the ground, and as I said, I think the first meeting was very productive, and I look forward to the second meeting because I think it will be helpful to us as we finalize our budget for next year, plus deal with, what we're doing for the end of this year.
Thank you. Clarification, you said that there is an available seat for the Finance Committee?
I thought when we set the committee up, we said 2 citizen members if we got them. Because we originally had Mr. Ficken identified, and then his company wouldn't let him do it. And then we were looking for a second person to come along with Mr. Ficken. So I thought we had another opening. So if we get one, that's great. If not, we're not going to let that stop our work. We're putting forth a good effort to try and provide, the information so the board can make a solid decision.
Okay. If we can advertise the beer board and the Finance Committee, that would be helpful, and just be able to loop that around if we get interested parties.
We'll advertise for it, and it was proposed.
On the website?
Right, it was proposed for a 5-member board, but we couldn't get the member, so we had to proceed.
Yeah, we wanted to go ahead and get started because
This was
time was upon us.
This
Okay.
was a recommendation by the auditors also.
Okay. Thank you, Commissioner Bissell. Any comments from the board at this time? Thank you. Item 9G, discuss and or take action on a release of lien deed of trust at 1524 Highway 96 North, Vicky Dogra, owner, Aldec trustee.
Mayor, that's a housekeeping release that was put on the agenda simply because it is releasing an obligation to the city and would have to be approved by the board. Several years ago, my memory is that at that time, the city still had the water and sewer program, and they had a program by which they would allow, the city would allow the installation of sewer taps, water taps, et cetera, and to help the citizens, they would allow that to happen and take a deed of trust on the property to be paid by the individual. I have been advised by Mr. Bledsoe that Mr. Dogra came in and paid his the amount that he owed the city in full, and the state statute requires that when you hold a deed of trust and you get full payment of the lien, you must prepare a release and record it, and if the board approves this, Mr. Bledsoe will have it recorded.
Move for approval.
Second for
To the
discussion.
first and second discussion.
Well, was that figure to relieve the lien on that, was it 9,000 some odd dollars?
That's what it was $9,000 some dollars.
That has been paid in full?
Yes, Mr. Bledsoe told me it was paid in full. I haven't seen it, but I don't have any reason to doubt what he told me.
If I remember reading it correctly, there was no matter of interest involved in it, is that correct? And it was in 2005?
I don't recall the date, but John told me it was paid in full. Everything was paid in full and asked me to prepare the release.
That's, Ms. Johnson, do you have any, they're pretty close? Okay. That's all I've got, thank you.
Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. City managers, items for discussion.
Thank you, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Board of Commissioners. I just like to thank each and every one today. It's been a very productive day, and very pleased. Also, I want to wish everybody a happy Easter. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Staff comments this evening.
Thank you, Mayor. We had, as Commissioner Massell said, we had our first Finance Committee meeting, and we are getting, I've spent the last month in analytical mode, and we are continued in our cash flow, I don't want to say, well, I'll just say crisis or crunch or whatever. And we've had, if we look at the graph, we've gotten through property tax season. We're still showing a deficit based on our revenues and expenses. I have addressed, we did talk about this in the finance meeting, and I've talked with City Manager Hall, and I have announced spending freeze for departments other than emergency and things that they have to do to get basic services done. I'm hoping to collect in that end in between $150,000 and $200,000. We shared in the last month's meeting the projections for what Walmart revenue would bring in, and it was in the neighborhood right around $25,000 in extra sales tax, local option sales tax for the month of March. As stated, we don't see sales tax till 60 days removed, so we will not know what January did until April 20th. But I have gotten letters, and I have not got the finalized statements of what's in the bank, but I was not encouraged by the numbers. I think the cold snap we had in February and maybe the newness, the numbers weren't what I was hoping they would be. So moving on, I just, on the graph, thank you. If you look at these graphs, I just like looking at my top 10 revenue leaders and my top 10 top expenditures on where, I just have that for your benefit. We'll go to this month. We had our local sales tax coming from the county, it was 27%. Then we also had local sales tax come from state share, that was another 12%. And then our state sales tax was 13%. We did not match our expenses in the month of March. We had $316,985.25 in revenues, $349,299.32 in expenditures. Those are the main expenditures in the graph. Right now, I think looking towards the future, some of the things we're really focusing on are doing what we can to limit expenses and spending. Also looking at ways to use our cash position in the best that's in the best interest of our citizens in our city. We've been talking about future budgets, and we really feel it necessary to build our reserves, which have been affected during this time of revenue not being coming forth. But I guess as we go forward, some areas that I want to focus on is being conservative in our revenue projections, and also setting aside a portion of our sales tax increases in the future to go directly into reserves and build that up as quickly as possible. There are some areas, a couple areas I want to talk to you about on the expense side. On the expense side, if you look at our budget, we're right where we should be as far as total expenditures, but there are 5 areas that I do have a concern about, and we'll talk about as we talk about general government. But there are going to be some budget amendments. There are going to be some moving around of money, and we talked about some of that earlier about how people have moved and attrition and all that, and we've got some people hired in this department and gone in this department. But we've got some issues with the HRA account, and there's just that's our main one. It's quite a bit over what we anticipated. We had a new contract last November, of which I was not involved in. I don't know all the logistics, but it is substantially more than was budgeted. We have 4 other ones that are less substantial, but over the whole expenditure side, our main problem right now is revenue, in my opinion.
What's the 4 others, please?
We've got medical insurance, property and liability insurance, professional fees, and engineering fees.
What was the third one? I'm sorry, I didn't get that.
All right, these are the 5: HRA, medical insurance, property and liability insurance, professional
Property and liability.
professional fees, and engineering fees.
Thank you.
But like I said, those, even with the cuts, we have minimized the effects of those with the cuts we've already made. So we're on the spending side, based on what we said we were going to spend, we're right in line for the overall budget. I do want to make that perfectly clear.
Tom, obviously, we know you came into this budget and Mr. Hall came into it. And so, and we've spent a lot of time talking, and y'all have done the HALT this budget year, which I applaud your administration, your department heads. I'm really pulling together and trying to make this, come out. I know we still don't know Walmart. There is a good chance if we stay consistent, that we will make the budget. Is that what I'm hearing you say as far as this year goes? But, what would you see some of the biggest problems? You hear me say Walmart a lot, because I really was kind of against the line item being used, but there's more to it. That's just a small fraction. What would you say would be the problems with this budget? I mean, were we that off on projections? Speculating, I know you weren't here.
Well, I've run my numbers. We projected $95,000 a month in sales tax, and we averaged 70 a month. The sales tax is hit, and I guess that's why when we look, that's where the biggest increase is going to be coming in the future. And I'm hoping with our next budgets, we can take a substantial portion of that and put back. I think the Finance Committee, one of the main things we're working towards is finding the dollars and doing everything we can to be fiscally responsible and prudent, and making sure we do balance out by June 30th.
So you project it will, in the end, with y'all slowing things down, that we should have a balanced budget?
That is the projection. Once again, revenue is key. We've got, we're looking at different options we're looking at ways to pay. I think if there weren't a couple of expenditures, debt payments that were due, but we're looking at every option we have with the Finance Committee to make sure we're doing the appropriate way to make sure we come out. We've got to balance, and that's our sole responsibility.
I agree.
Now, in your March expenses, are you done with your presentation?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. In your March expenses, it doesn't have any of the pie chart about the property and liability. Is that an annual?
Yes,
Would it go in one of these departments that's not highlighted? Or was that just because you broke it down
We
for
did
March?
not have any expenses this month in property and liability.
Okay, so it's not in there because of the March.
Engineer
payments.
fees, attorney fees, all that has gone over. How far, I don't know if that's in your presentation.
It's in this
This
report
part,
right here.
okay.
You spoke about the debt services, which I agree is strong, and it does get you, even though you put it off a year or two, it does roll around. The facilities tax under the restricted funds is to pay for the city hall. That note went down. You're estimating at the end of 2014 budget year, $76,000. Do you recall the note
I'm sorry,
for
what?
City Hall? I think it was 86 something, but it did reduce, so I wanted to clarify if you knew what that was.
Yes, I know, I've got a $77,000 note coming due May 25th.
And do you anticipate, if the year-end balance, you said it's due May, and the year-end balance would be the end of June at $76,000, we'd have to allocate additional funds to pay that note? Because it comes out of the facilities tax, so That's what I'm.
Yes, probably, that'll be something we're looking at. I may come ask for $77,000.
Out of that fund.
Yes.
We'd have to do some type of allocation out of some other fund to benefit that if it's not much, which is good.
Mayor, if I could clarify and correct
Let me finish my question, please. If you finish on the debt services, was any of the other two designated to be paid out of a certain fund for the police cars or the fire truck debt?
No.
And the little, what I call the midget road, but the expansion connector road here, was that out of a certain fund, to your knowledge?
I believe it's scheduled to come out of general funds, but I'm also looking, we're looking at options for that
Okay.
payment as well.
Thank you. Mr. Bissell?
Yes, ma'am. I was going to tell you that the 77,000, the 51,000 that's shown on the fund balance has not been moved yet. So what he's talking about is an additional 26,000, not the total depletion of the fund. 51,000, part of the closing of the gap is there were several funds that were debited, but the actual money has not been moved from the LGIPs into our cash, into our checking account. That 51,000 from the facilities tax being one of those, the $60,000 from the park fund that goes toward their half of the road is one of those. There's several items there that are going to close that deficit once he's able to make the transfers over, which is just something that we identified as the committee going through the process.
Thank you. Would it be wrong to assume that the salaries, overtime, part-time salaries, HR, medical, dental, vision, insurance, if you added all those together, would that be a proper way, or is there a different way to add those together as far as to get a total percentage of what employees and payroll, let's say, would that be 77% of our budget? Do you add it up that way, or is there another way to add it up?
I believe it's right around 70%. And I based that on last year's numbers. You would add it up, and then you wouldn't add the percentages, you would add it all up and then divide.
And divide, okay. Other questions? Thank you, I appreciate your info. Other comments from the board? Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mayor. One thing is on the engineering fees, we will be receiving some monies back from where we build the grants. We are going to be able to bill back the Safe Routes grants too. That was a substantial amount of engineering fees that's been paid there. But with the finalization of this resurfacing grant, I think we'll receive back $17,000 on that grant. So hopefully some of these engineering fees will reduce down.
Thank you.
Okay, other staff comments this evening? Yes. City Attorney comments.
Thank you, Mayor. Just want to wish everyone a happy and safe Easter. That's all I have. Thank you.
Communications from the commissioners. Commissioner Sutton.
Yes, I attended the Chamber of Commerce meeting today. I think most of the commissioners were able to make it. City Manager Hall did a fine job presenting the state of the city. I want to commend him on that. It was I think that's the biggest crowd we've ever had at one of the dinners. So I want to thank you for that, and expectations for future development inside the city are looking good. Piedmont was there with some good news about expansion of the projects. They're actually working the new communities that we have, trying to encourage the builders to have an option between electric and gas, which is a big input for them to do that. They were encouraging as far as the expansion down 840, as far as the gas lines go. So that was just a little bit of it that was there. I encourage anybody that's in business, small business or whatever, to look into the chamber and join the chamber and be a part of it at the same time. As keeping with what I've been doing in the past, we've lost 2 candidates for the city judgeship, so Mr. Burke is still here. Well, he's talked earlier, so I want to thank you for coming out tonight. Also want to recognize Dwight Bubba Jones. In the back there is our current county commissioner. He's also running for county commissioner seat again, and I want to appreciate him coming out tonight also. That's all I got.
Thank you. Vice Mayor Johnson.
Thank you, Mayor. Back during the workshop, several of the people in the crowd were here, and we were discussing salaries as well, and Commissioner Purcell made the statement about $2.35 million of our budget being salaries, and I saw some people's faces cringe, and I guess that sounds like a tremendously large figure, but I took that figure, I added on the 19% taxes and retirement, brought that figure to 2.7965, divided that over the 70 employees that we have working for the city, and that gives an average salary for an employee of $39,950. So that really deflates that number of 2.3 million. You think everybody's getting rich working for the government, and it doesn't work like that. So I just thought I might point that out. And in closing, I would like to say happy birthday to the mayor.
Thank you, sir.
20, you say 29 earlier today?
Holding
Yeah.
it all.
And holding
Commissioner
everything.
Bazell,
And holding everything,
29
right?
and holding, right?
everything.
I hear you. Just 2 quick points. First thing, I want to make sure everybody understands that, yes, from the Finance Committee standpoint, we do have, we're working with Tom and Wayne to try to close this deficit through many avenues. And we discussed some of the major ones tonight, but there's some other things that we're trying to do to do that. And I would like, part of that has been the way that we've been moving our money, and Tom identified that, and I want to congratulate him for that. He's done a nice job coming in. But none of what we're talking about here is created by the police cars or the Quint fire truck. Those bills have not come due yet. They won't come due. There's something we will have to address in the future, but I don't want anybody to be misled that those have anything to do with that particular issue. We actually have a very good equity position as a city. We have over $23 million in hard assets. I'm talking about that stuff that you can touch, land, equipment, vehicles, that sort of thing. And we have only $3.5 million debt against that, which gives us, and that includes the purchase of the Quint and the police cars, and which gives us a better than 85% equity position in everything. And that's very good for any city, much less a city our size, because there is always a base level of cost in providing a service. It doesn't cost us any less to run a fire station than it does Franklin to run a fire station, even though they have a lot more revenue. And there are a lot of places that would be very envious of that. So we do have a cash flow issue based upon a number of factors. However, our equity position is very strong, and I think that's important that people remember that. The other thing is that my problem with the request from the Park Commission resides on 2 things. First of all, I don't think it's their place to request it because of the way they're set up. But even if it was, I don't think a sub-organization in terms, this is not the way you process the legality. Now, we have a city attorney. He's already ruled that those expenditures would be that way. Now, if all somebody is looking for is an accounting of where the Bowie Park Fund money has gone, I've done it twice. I did it when I was chairman of the Park Commission the first time, and then Tom and I updated it since he came on, and a copy was provided to Al as president of the Friends. I'll be happy to send that to any individual that will email me. I'll send them my breakdown of where it went. I'm just not going to enter into a discussion of the legality. Our city attorney has already said that it was legal. And, you know, I went back to 1994 when the property transferred over, and tried to account for the original money that Ms. Bowie gave when she gave the park in. And there are some gaps in there that we simply don't have the records for. But if there's an individual out there, be they a member of the Park Commission, be they a member of the Friends, be they just a citizen that wants to know, my email address is on the website. Pull it up, send a request to me, and that way I can hit reply, and I will send you the attachment. If all you really want to know is how was the money spent over the years. But I have an issue with our sub-organizations getting outside of what their charter tells them they should be doing, and that's why I made the motion against it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Commissioner Carroll?
Yeah, I just have a couple things tonight. I also went to the chamber luncheon. It was great having so many people from our community and so many business owners there. Enjoyed getting to spend the time with them, and I just think it's great anytime that we can go somewhere locally and have that kind of crowd representing and kind of all wanting the same direction. I did want to say a couple of things on the votes tonight. After Middle Tennessee Electric, I mean, I know they can put, they could do it anywhere and they could take our land, but I just still have a problem with the answer that Mr. Powell got, and then also the answer we got the night in the public meeting. And it does worry me about that they use subcontractors and they're not going to really, they're really not taking the responsibility of, yes, our subcontractors' work was not to a certain standard. So it just kind of made me hesitant to move forward because this is our park, and I'm sure that this was going to go through anyway, but it comes down to the point of it's not okay to come in our community and chop it up. I understand their job is to remove trees and the safety, and then also giving electricity to all of our citizens. So I'm not questioning that, but I just normally like to give some kind of reasoning, especially when it's a nay vote and the majority of my peers are for something. It's not that I'm not for bettering our community and providing more services. I do worry about the effects of the park. And then the other thing that I would like to comment on tonight is just basically, I hear what Commissioner Basell says, and he has valid points, which he normally does. I'm not questioning that, but it's a city group. It's not like, and if any individual could have the information, if you're willing to email any individual, then why wouldn't we just want to help support this committee that we've assigned a task to? And so that's my only argument why I'm for it. I mean, I don't think it's a big deal. It's the citizens' money. We should happily give this committee the documentation of what they want. Now, wording may have played in it, and that's fine. I heard that comment too. So that's all for tonight. I just hope everybody has a wonderful Easter, enjoying the time with their family. Remember the reason for the season.
Thank you. I do want to also thank City Manager Hall. He was very forthcoming in the information and delivered it very honestly and with his heart, and I appreciate that. Did a good job. I appreciate all you here this evening. County Commissioner, thank you for being here, Mr. Jones. And I do appreciate your attentiveness to our city, our community, and our future. And I'd like to wish everyone a very happy Easter week. Enjoy. Motion for adjournment?
I didn't hear your comment, I'm sorry. Yeah, I did. I'm sorry. I
Move to adjourn, Mayor.
Yes, okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Good evening.